We were talking before the break. We have Corey Pegues and Brian Silber with us still. Corey is a retired inspector for the New York Police Department, and Brian is a defense attorney who represents police officers in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And Brian, I cut you off earlier. We had to get that break in here, but Corey had just made the point that just because you're responding to a scary neighborhood, possibly in the dark, doesn't mean you pull your gun if you're a seasoned cop and you wanted to respond.
Well, a couple things. I don't believe in the scary neighborhood theory personally. This officer serves his community, doesn't matter what block it's on. But I look at the tactical circumstances. I look at the poor lighting. I look at the hour. I look at the open door. And I see reasonable doubt coming from all of those places. You know, this defendant does not need to prove his innocence. He needs to prove that there's reasonable doubt. There's a difference, okay? Not even prove it, just raise the question. And I can't get past the fact that the little boy who was present, the first thing he said that night was, "I saw her point the gun." And then we've got body cam footage saying, "Show me your hands." How do we get past that? How do we ignore that? You know, this is a tragedy. I don't think the victim here who was killed intended to hurt a police officer. She probably just saw a person in her backyard and got frightened. You know, this is a tragedy. It's not a fight on the street. But the officer acted in accordance with his training, and I'm sure he acted in accordance with his desire to survive and go home that day. It's just terrible what happened, and I don't blame her, and I think there's too many questions here to blame him.
Brian, is the mistake made there, as Corey points out at the very beginning, welfare check, wouldn't you announce, hey, or, you know, police, is everybody okay in there? He does that, or his partner does that. This doesn't happen because she comes out and says, "Oh yeah, we burned some hamburgers earlier and our door open."
This is the classic example of Monday morning quarterbacking. Okay, there's two ways police officers generally approach a situation like this. One is, as our guest says, "Hi, it's the police. Is everyone okay?" You make your presence known very quickly, very loudly. The other way is a silent approach until you can figure out what's going on or get a little bit more information, because announcing your presence could make it more dangerous. You know, if there's something violent going on in that home, if someone's under attack or someone who knows what, announcing your presence could make you a target. It could make someone else a target. He may have just needed a little more information before making that announcement. For example, he probably wanted to walk around the property and see if there was any other signs of forced entry, violence, someone in the backyard before going in that house. He was probably securing the perimeter, looking around. I don't have a problem with any of that. But even if he did make a mistake, let's say he was wrong and he should have said police, 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 okay? That doesn't make him a murderer. It means he made a mistake. Does that make him,
does it turn into a drunk driving scenario? You set up this powder keg use, your mistake, if it is a mistake, and it's at the end of the day, everybody agrees this was a mistake and it's violated training. Does he now set up a situation where somebody ends up dead and now you have to pay because of your mistake? No one's saying he went and shot somebody that day on purpose.
No, because to do that and to draw that conclusion, you have to ignore all the other facts. You have to ignore the fact that he was ordered to go to this place as a police officer who can encounter, someone having a medical emergency or a major violent situation. He has no idea what's the nature of the welfare problem. You know, maybe this person was a victim of a crime. You know, we have to ignore the fact. We have to ignore the hour. We have to ignore the lighting. We have to ignore the fact that something caused him to say, "Show me your hands." We have to ignore the fact that this boy said he saw the woman pointing a gun. We have to ignore the fact that that laser was pointed at his chest. And I just can't go there. I'm not going to harp on one fact to force a conclusion. We got to look at all the evidence and remember the context. This is a criminal trial. It's a question of, does the prosecution prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt? And the emphasis on the word beyond. And they just don't get beyond because of all these questions. Now, is this a case where there's civil liability? Does this police department need to change their training? Does this police department need to write a check and compensate the person who was killed and their family? Yeah, I'm sure that's possible, but that doesn't make this man a murderer. That's a big difference.
Last word.